let me show you quick how I would put a path in. Now, I would probably feel it out just because I've been doing landscape painting for so long, I can kind of do that. But if you're more of a beginner, it's a little trickier to feel that stuff out. So I'm going to show you some principles that can kind of help you with this. All right, first thing to do is establish our, figure out approximately where our horizon line is. And I'm going to say the horizon line in this is probably roughly right about here. Now you might be wondering, well, what if I can't find the horizon line? What if I don't know where it is? Well, you got to kind of guesstimate. Of course, the horizon line is basically where the sky meets the ground, the furthest distance you can see. Actually, I'm going to raise the horizon line up more. I actually think it would probably be more about here, something like that. We'll call it there, and then we'll put it here as well. Now, of course, on horizon lines, you have vanishing points. Any two lines that you put here to represent a path have got to basically terminate on a vanishing point on the horizon line. The real trick is that a lot of times when you're doing a path like this, your vanishing points are going to be on the horizon line like way over here. That's where it gets a little tricky. But I still try to keep the horizon line in mind to kind of eyeball it, if you will, and where this would be. So let's say I'm going to start a path right about here. And I'm just going to put a line in, all right, just to get something started. And then we have to put another line in right about there because, you need two sides of a path. So these two lines are going to have to converge on the horizon line. Now check this out. I made these incorrect in relation to each other. How do I know that? Well, if I draw a line here, I draw a line there, they're not converging on the vanishing point. They're converging quite a bit below the vanishing point, or not the vanishing point, I'm sorry, the horizon line. They're converging quite a bit below the horizon line, all right? And that's a problem. So what do I have to do? I have to change the angle of them. I either have to angle this one more like that or this one more like this to try to get them to come together on what would be the vanishing point. Now this gets really tricky because this comes off the edge of the canvas, and so that's going to be a bit of an issue. But that's the one thing you want to make sure is that your lines, when you put two lines together to form a path, that those two lines are going to converge on the horizon line. And if you can draw a line like this and a line like that and they meet up before it, like that, or let's say you draw them so far apart, or so, like let's say you go like this, and this one, a lot of beginners do this a lot, okay? They'll do something like this. Well, this one goes like that, and this one goes like that. Their meeting place is going to be above the vanishing point. So that means that that's incorrect as well. So that's a little trick. I'm kind of moving my painting here. That's a little trick as far as trying to figure out approximately how to make a decent path is that. How I do it, let me show you, is I usually kind of feel it out. And I try to feel the flatness of the ground. Remember, this ground is flat, all right? I mean, it can have little bumps and hills and that, but overall ground plane is flat. And so I'm just going to kind of almost pretend like I'm setting my brush on this flat ground. And I'm just going to move my path accordingly, like that. Now, I can't really, unfortunately, teach this to you because this is more of a feeling thing. And this is something where I will play with these lines quite a bit until I get the feeling to be correct. But I do kind of do a zigzag thing. With something like this, though, and honestly, I'd probably move this further over because I don't like how it's so centered. But, and actually, I think that feels too much like that. That's a little bit better. But with paths like this, keep in mind, the other thing is that you don't have to draw a perfect, like you see the whole thing. This thing could be covered up by weeds, you know, by taller grasses in certain places, which actually can make your job a lot easier, because then you don't have to have this perfect, like, you know, highway or something like that going off into the distance where you see the edge of it the entire time. When we get to session 4, we'll play with this a little bit more, and remind me if I forget. So, George, you got to be here for session 4 to remind me. But that's the overall principle, is that these lines have to feel like they're receding, they're coming together, they're meeting on the horizon line. If those lines meet below the horizon line or above it, you're off kilter there. You know, you're not in the right place. Does that kind of make sense to everybody?
Yeah. I mean, it does to me. I would think of it more like the vanishing point is where they have to converge, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and so if you, and let me just go back and I'll just re-illustrate it one more time, just in case I wasn't totally clear on that. I apologize if I wasn't. So basically, if I do a line like this, and I do a line like this, all right, and if I keep drawing those lines, they're going to converge way below the vanishing point, which we established to be over here. So that's wrong. Those lines have to be adjusted, which means that something's got to be tilted, whether it's this one is tilted more this way or this one's tilted, you know, whichever way it needs to be, so that they converge. Now these still converge right about there. So we're still off, and you can see I'm destroying my grass down there with this, but that's okay. Because like I said, I do these paintings for you guys to learn, not so that I can hang them or put them in a gallery later. And this is precisely why. But this line would converge, you know, right about there, if we could extend our vanishing point there. And this line would converge pretty much almost in the same spot. So this could possibly work to a certain degree, but I would also then cut it and tilt it that way. But that's a general thinking on that one. Okay. Does that make sense, George?
It does. It does. Yeah. You know, I'll have to play with that sketch paper.
Yeah, and it's simple. It's basic rules of perspective. And to tell you something that can really help is if you go out, and this is what really helped me. I can't tell you how much this helped me, is sketching from life as much as you possibly can. And it doesn't have to be, you know, people get this idea that when they go out to sketch, they have to make a pretty picture. And that is false. It is completely false. When you go out to sketch, you are going out to learn and to gather information. That's it. And you have to kind of figure out, what's my intentions today when I go out and sketch? Or even if I sketch something in my house, and you know, it might be, well, I want to study the edges of clouds or the shapes of clouds. So you're just going to go out and you're just going to draw clouds and the shapes of clouds. It might be, I want to study the form of trees. So you're going to go, you know, draw trees. You're not going to worry about the results. You're just trying to figure things out. And the whole act of sketching is really just to enhance your powers of observation and how to translate that to your hand from what your eye is seeing. Another thing might be, I want to kind of get the feel for how roads recede into the distance. And so I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to draw the road, just the lines of these roads, you know, and they might be roads that like go up and down over hills and things like that. How do those lines work? It might be roads that go straight, you know, just, you know, different things like that. And at that point, you're just basically doing a quick little line sketches of the roads just so you can figure that out. And you don't care about the results. You don't care, oh, I went home and I could put this on Instagram and everybody's going to give me a bunch of thumbs up. That's not the point of it. It's your own, it's like a personal journal, really, is how I look at it. You know, usually people don't, unless they're kind of crazy, show what they wrote in their journal the night before. and put it on Facebook or Instagram. And the same thing with your sketchbook. You know, you're not doing it to impress anybody. You're not even doing it to impress yourself. You're doing it to try to understand what you're seeing. Okay? And that is so helpful. And when you do that, and it doesn't have to be, you might be thinking, well, I have to study roads for a year. No, you know, just sitting down, it could be a 5-minute sketch. Oh, there's a road. I'm just going to look at it and sketch it out to try to understand it and get the feel for it. And in doing that, you're going to learn a lot. And it doesn't take as much effort as you think.